Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming live from Sun City in Arizona, where it is a very cool 111 degrees Fahrenheit outside, or 44 degrees centigrade. And inside we've dropped a degree. We're down to 83 now. And when I first started, I was sort of like, yeah, we had to leave the tank top on because it's just too hot to put anything else on. Poor Zeffie's been sprawled out in different areas around the RV trying to get cool on the vinyl floor, on the bed. I even took out the cool pad that I have for her, the other cool pad I have for her, which is a lot bigger, and put it on top of the bed with one of her blankets over it. Yeah, she just walks across it. She hasn't laid on it yet. Anyway, it has been an amazing. It is welcome to Serenity Sunday. It has been an incredible day so far. Um, it was actually kind of fun because I don't normally check my email on a Sunday, but something made me check it. And coming up in January of next year, we have the Salt Lake Institute of Genealogy. We've got their week-long class, and registrations open this coming Saturday. So I thought, well, I wonder what classes they have. So I went and had a look at the classes, and one of them is the migration from New England to sort of like the Midwest in the 17 somethings to the 1850s. And I thought, well, hang on. I think Brad's family, the German side of his family, was in that area around 1850. It turns out they landed at Baltimore, but they were looking for so for a project, they want you to trace a family that came in between these certain dates and migrated either from New England or New York and went to like Ohio, Pennsylvania, that sort of thing. And I was looking and said, okay, well, they came in Maryland. It's close enough to New York. And they went to Pennsylvania before they went on to Indiana. And so I thought, okay, we're within the realm of that one, so that could be one that we're doing. So I thought, I'm pretty sure that's where they went. And so I went into Ancestry and had a look. Yep. And before I could even get to that, I noticed I had a new message. So I went and checked this message, and this guy was looking for connections to family that's in my tree. And I have over 8,000 people in my tree, but not all of them are connected. I have mini trees within the main tree. And the mini tree is there because I built that up to see if I can connect it to the main tree. Or I've come across some information and I thought, okay, I need to keep that information handy. So I'm going to create a mini tree within the main tree. And then when it hooks up to the main tree, I can connect the two together. So I started researching that and got tangled up in that. And then I thought, well, I haven't looked at my DNA thing for a while. Get sidetracked. I tell you, the genealogy is a huge rabbit warren. So I'm turtling off down this and getting all that. And I replied to the guy saying, hey, I need to know the areas that they were born in because you're giving me like one of the 6 most common names, especially on the male side, that is used within the family. And told him what those 6 common names were. So I need to get location to help tie this down a little bit. And by the way, how's your wife connected to this family? Because I'm always curious about how people are connected. Because they say, oh, it's in my wife's family. Notice you have these names in your tree and blah, 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 blah. And I'm sort of like, okay, I need more information. And so then I thought, well, let me go and have a look at my DNA things because I haven't done them for ages. And so I went into the DNA things and I'm just like scrolling down and looking for, and when you do a DNA, when you're in the DNA side, you can actually match your tree to other people's trees and you can put in there, whether it's on your mother's side or your father's side, you can put the relationship in there. If they're first cousins, second cousins, removals and all of that sort of stuff, aunts, uncles, grandparents, everything else, things like that. So I got down to this one that could possibly be a fourth cousin. And I thought, oh, we've got common ancestors. Excellent. So I clicked on the common ancestors and I'm sort of like, oh, well, this is interesting. And so I started looking at that and going, well, hang on, one moment. I've got to make sure I'm in the right family for this one. Hang on. Because it's really, yes, I'm on the right, talking about the right family for this one. And so I'm like, okay, so we've got the third great-grandparent in common. Their children, there was a William Alfred Bullen, which is my third great-grandfather. And then she had done a William Bullen that was supposed to be my second great-granduncle. Like they were meant to be brothers, and they're 2 years apart in the age. 1 year apart in the age. One was born in 1849, And my William was born in 1849 and died in 1876. Her William was born in 1850 and died in 1907. The only problem is that my third great grandparents only had 3 children. There was Jane, Thomas, and William. That's it. Period. There are no other Williams. But then she goes, then they have a private family member, and then they had one that was named, and then another private. So I looked up the one that was named and couldn't find him anywhere in my tree. I could find the last name in the tree, but could not find a connection between a William Bullen and a Frederick Snell. So I'm sort of like, okay, we do have a match on the DNA. So somewhere along the way, we are removed. And so when I had a look at her tree, I thought, oh my gosh, I know of the story because I've contacted her about somebody else in her tree that is connected to my tree in a different way. And there's a whole mystery around this particular guy, because he was born with one name, he was then adopted, but then he kept changing his names, which made him very difficult to follow. But we managed to, between the two of us, we managed to figure it all out. And but then that had nothing to do with this particular mystery I uncovered today. So I'm looking at Jane and Thomas and William, and of course I have all the information for William because he's my third great grandfather. So I thought, well, let me have a look at his siblings. So found his siblings and found the marriage record for Thomas and who he got married to, and found his death date and everything else. Yep, that's all good. We're all good on that one. And then I went over to his sister and found out that she got married twice. The first time she got married, she left England with her husband and went to Australia, because this whole family ended up in Australia, and then part of it came over to New Zealand later on. And so they ended up in Australia, and I thought, okay. And so I'm like researching around, I thought, they must have had kids at some point. And so I actually found my third great grandmother's will. And in her will, she mentioned her only grandson and named him. And I'm like, and named him, what did she call him? Hang on. It's all written down here on my pages of notes today, because I came up with this theory based on it all. Hang on. Oh, that's not it. I took pages and pages and pages of notes today. Oh, that was something else I was researching. Okay. So she had him down as Joel Thomas Calf, and that was her married name, Harris. Now, when she got married, when her husband died, she got married again. He died in 1892. She got married again in 1893 to somebody called Harrison. And I thought, well, why would she call him Harris and not Harrison? That's really weird. So now I knew the name of the child, and I'm like, so I'm looking for birth records for him and everything else, and I'm not finding any birth records. And I'm like, and I can find a birth record for a Joel Thomas Bullen Harris. And I'm like, why am I finding a John Thomas Bullen Harris? And so then I'm like looking at this, and then I find Jane's will, and I'm reading her will. And of course, so her mother, my third great grandmother, had named her only grandson as being Joel Thomas Calf Harris. Jane, her daughter, said that she was leaving everything to her adopted son, Joel Thomas Bullen Harris. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, okay, and so when I started looking up John Thomas Bullen Harris, found birth records from his mother's name was Annie Harris, and it didn't have a father listed. And I'm like, well, this is really interesting. But Jane has a brother. Jane and William have a brother called Thomas. So now my theory is, I tell you, the thingies in the brain was zip-zapping all over the place. So now the theory is that Thomas fathered a child out of wedlock with Annie, and that was Joel Thomas Bullen. And then Harris was put on as his last name. So his father's name, Thomas Bullen, is actually part of his name. So that's where I think the adoption took place. But I can't find anything more about John Thomas Bullen Harris, except for his birth records. But I know that he was alive when his mother died, because she mentioned him in the will, which was written in like 3 years before she passed away. So it's sort of like, well, is his father actually his uncle? Is actually her brother? And who is this Annie Harris? But she's on the birth records, and so it's sort of like, oh, I've got a mystery. I've got a mystery to solve. So there's all this theory, why. And so my thought is that my third great grandmother had written in her will her only grandson, Joel Thomas Calf Harris. She put it in as that because my thought is that Jane and her husband adopted the son to help with all of the to help out with the scandal, and she pretended it was her son, and that's how they presented it to her mother. And her mother didn't realize that maybe one of her other children had fathered this child to this woman Annie Harris. And so I think that's why there's a mix-up in the names. And so she always knew him as John Thomas Calf Harris, not realize it. And so I'm like, well, where does she think the Harris part came from? So it's all been kind of interesting. I'm like, okay, so why was his last name left as Harris if she adopted him instead of taking on the Harrison, which is what she got married? Because sometimes kids just end up with those names. And so I'm trying to unearth all of these records in Australia to figure it all out. So it was kind of fun. I was sort of like, wow. And so I got into went down this whole rabbit hole with all of this and everything else. So I researched 3 different families today. One being the one that this guy was asking about. Then the next one being this one that I found as a cousin. And I was trying to figure out where the possible second William came in, but have no record of that. And then figuring out which family I was going to use for this class I want to take in January of next year. So it's been a very interesting afternoon on the genealogy side, and it's been a while since I've dived into my own family tree. So it's been an awesome day and lots of records, and sitting here and melting in the heat, and the ACs have been doing their job and keeping us at least 30 degrees cooler than outside. So for that, I am very thankful. But the sun's now gone down, so now we can go for our walk outside, and it'll still be like 110, 109, still up there in the mid 40s or the lower 40s now. And but yeah, I think I'm gonna leave I usually don't wear my tank top outside, but I probably will today because it's just so hot. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But anyway, it has been a super fantastic sparkling Sunday. So how has your Sunday been? What rest, relaxation, and recharging did you get to do today? I got that. I started listening to another audio book about mindset, actually about how to about mind control. And so I started reading that over breakfast this morning. And I do need, I'm looking at my fridge and I need to get groceries. And I was supposed to do laundry today. Well, that kind of got pushed to the side. I've got a whole bunch of recycling stuff that needs to be taken over. Haven't done that yet. Haven't done the laundry yet. And I'm sort of like, oh my gosh, I'm getting down on clothes. So it's going to be either one evening this week or one morning this week. Actually, I don't know. I might be able to squeeze it in there this week, because I know Wednesday I start doing all day on the help chat for the next week and a half, as some help with the extra coverage and stuff. So it's going to be a fun week. It's going to be awesome this week. Can't wait. It's going to be an exciting week. So how was your day? Did you get to rest, relax, recharge? Did you uncover any family mysteries today? Did you plan any trips today? What sort of fun stuff did you get up to today? So that's what I did. Zeffie, like I said, Zeffie was just moving around and going into places where she was laying in front of fans, laying on the floor. The problem is the vinyl floor is a little on the warm side. Well, it's warm, but it's not hot. I tell you, insulation in here sucks. If I could figure out how to insulate my floor, that would help huge, because there's a lot of heat that comes up, and I do have some reflex stuff that I can go and line on my cabinets with. So that's going to be a task I'm going to have to do in an early morning thing when I get up early one morning and do that. So, but we've had a good day today. We had a good walk this morning. Zeffie did a little zigzag loopy thingy around I let her have a lead this morning. I figured it's Sunday. We don't have any appointments. We're open today. Was thinking of taking her to the park, but when we went for our walk, it was already 90-something degrees outside. So I was like, yeah, I ain't taking her to the park, because she would just get too hot too quick in the heat, and the sun would be beating down on the park. There are limited shade areas at the park, but people tend to stand under those, and all their dogs just lay there and they're not running around. And Zeffy likes to just go running around, and I stand out in the middle in the sun with my floppy hat on and her water, and I have the big half-gallon thing of water for her that she comes and drinks from. And so she definitely does stay hydrated, but after like 10-15 minutes, she's out. She's like, I'm done. She'll even come and lay in my shade. Like I'll stand with my back to the sun to create a shaded spot for her when she's in the water, and she'll just flop down in the shade. So I become her shade for her. And after about, both of us, after about 15 minutes, we're done. So we leave. But we didn't get a chance to do that today because it was already, like I said, it was already in the 90s here, and up there probably would have been a bit hotter. So we didn't get to do that today. But we did get to keep the awning out all day, which was nice. So, but anyway, we're out of here. We're about to go for a walk. Here comes Zeffy because I mentioned we're out of here and the walk word. Big stretches. You ready for your walk? You gonna go get my shoes? Get mummy's shoes? She yawns. Every day for 2.5 years, at least twice a day, I ask her to get my shoes. And all she does is just stand there and looks at me, or yawns, or walks over to the engine hump and sits on the engine hump, which is close to where my shoes are, and just sort of looks at the chair that I keep them under. I keep them under the passenger seat. And she just looks at it as if to say, well, they're in there if you want to get them. Every day for 2.5 years, twice a day. And she still hasn't learned that one. But she learns everything else quickly, so I'm not complaining too much. Anyway, I'm out of here. Go have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow for, Magic Monday. Hey, konera.